Hari Jaya Kancha Kancha Hari Jaya Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare I star accepted divine grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvajakacharya Astar Sati His Divine Grace Bhakti Santa Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nikai Gaura Pramanande Hari Hari Jai everybody, all the devotees present. We are reading from the Gandra Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 6. Chapter 6, Chapter 5. And reading from text 13 today. Let me just double check. Yes, text 13. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Humam nai vai itai humam nai vai titi yat gadvam. Vila svargam gato yata. Pratyagadama vida iha. Kim sat karma bhir bhavat. Humam nai vai itai yat gadvam. Vila svargam gato yata. Pratyagdama vida iha. Kim asad karma pir bhavat. Pumam nai vinti yat gudgadva. Bila svargam gato yata. Pratyagatama damam vidhi iha. Kim asad karma pir bhavat. Mamnai viti yat gatva. Bila svargam gato yata. Pratyagdama vida iha. Kim asat karma bir bhavat. Any devotees on Zoom like to chant?
Human nai vaiti yadgat va.
Mamnai viti yat gatva.
Bila svargam gato yata.
Bila svargam gato yata.
Pratyagdama vida iha. Kim asat karma bir bhavet.
Asat karma bir bhavat. Anyone else?
Manaivaiti yadgatva.
Mamnai viti yat gatva.
Bila svargam gato yata.
Bila svargam yato bila.
Pratyagdhama vidaiha. Kemasakarma bhir bhavet.
Kim asat karma bir bhavat. Okay. Synonyms, please repeat. Humam, a human being. Na, not. Eva, indeed. Iti, comes back. Yet, to which. Gatva, having gone. Bilasvarga, the region of the lower planar systems, known as Patala. Gata, gone. Yata, like. Pratyakdhamam, the effulgent spiritual world. Avidha, of unintelligent men. Iha, in this material world. Kim, what benefit? Asat, Sat karma be
Asat karma be
with temporary fruitive activities.
with temporary fruitive activities.
Bhavet
Bhava.
there be. Sorry.
It be.
There can be. Thank you. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay. Translation. Narada Muni had described that there is a bila or hole from which having entered one does not return. The Haryashvas understood the meaning of this allergy. Hardly once has a person who has entered the lower plenary system called Patala been seen to return. Similarly, if one enters the Vaikuntha Dhamma, Pratyag Dhamma, he does not return to this material world. If there is such a place in which having gone, one does not return to this miserable conditioned life, what is the use of jumping like monkeys in the temporary material world and not seeing or understanding that place? What will be the profits? Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 15:6, there is a region from which having gone one does not return to this material world. This region has been repeatedly described elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita. In 4:9, Krishna says, Janma karma jane devyam evam yo vititatvata tyaktva deham purna janma naidimam iti sarjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode of the Lord Juna. If one can properly understand Krishna, who has already been described as the Supreme King, he does not return here after giving up his material body. This fact has been described in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Umam nagaiti tat katva. He does not return to this material world, but returns home back to Godhead to live an eternally blissful life of knowledge. Why do people not care about this? What will be the benefit of taking birth again in this material world? Sometimes as a human being, sometimes as a demigod, sometimes a cat or a dog. What is the benefit of wasting time in this way? Krishna has very definitely asserted in Bhagavad Gita 8:15, Mam utya purna janma dukkhalayam ashashvatam Nabhuvanti Mahatmana Samsiddhim Paramam Gata. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. One's real concern should be to free himself from the repetition of birth and death and attain the topmost perfection of life by living with the Supreme King in the spiritual world. In this verse, the sons of Daksha repeatedly say, Kim asat karmapir bhavet. What is the use of impermanent fruitive activities? Om Gyanatimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshunamitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadagmayam Dadanti Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sargajatam Sagana Raganatam Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishvikam Vitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Vanchakapa Tarupyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so somehow when I was preparing for this class, first I read the wrong verse from this maybe supposed to be for tomorrow. And then I thought, okay, let me read the right verse. So I read the right verse, but I think I might have been in the wrong chapter because both these verses are new to me. That's okay. That's all the same in the end of what I was going to speak about. So this is a nice one to read. Okay, so let's just read the translation again. So translation, Narada Muni had described that there is a bila or hole from which having entered one does not return. The Haryashvas understood the meaning of this allegory. Hardly once has a person who has entered the lower planetary systems called Patala been seen to return. Similarly, if one enters the Vaikuntadam or Tyagdham, he does not return to this material world. If there is such a place from which having gone, one does not return to a miserable material condition of life, what is the use of jumping like monkeys in the temporary material world and not seeing or understanding that place? What will be the profit? So yeah, anyways, I wanted to talk about today, regardless of which verse I ended up properly reading, how we should direct our lives towards the service of Krishna and how there's actually no other purpose for our lives besides that. But within that desire and within that attempt, we have so many different blockages that come up that we almost put up for ourselves. And like in internal beliefs. Dr. Prem and I were talking yesterday about, he was describing to me the different belief systems that we create for ourselves. And from a lecture from Mahatma Das, where he has this really nice series of lectures called the 10 habits of highly ineffective people. And yeah, one of them is like how we create a belief system about ourselves, and how this belief system, like we just have a certain belief about one thing, and because our mind is accepting, yes, this is reality, this is how things function, then it actually can inhibit us from doing things, even though this belief might be illusionary. An example that he was sharing from this lecture that he heard was how there was this man and he was working in some like food industry, probably, or maybe distribution company. And his work was to restock the fridges. So if you've ever gone to like somewhere like the Restaurant Depot or some big place like this, their fridges are huge. They're like big fridges. It's not like the fridge we have at the Welcome Center. It's probably like maybe 10 times, 20 times as big as this, and it's a huge cooler and it's freezing cold. So this man was restocking these coolers, and because it was like the holiday season, they were closing the shop early. But for some reason, he didn't remember that. So he was in the freezer and he was stocking everything up, and then they had locked the door and closed because they thought everyone had left. So this man finally realized that he's stuck in this freezer. Usually it's like, below freezing, things in there have to be frozen. So he's in this freezer, and because he's thinking to himself, I'm stuck in this freezer, I'm going to die. There's nothing I can do about it. So he started writing, these like maybe on his phone or if he had some paper, writing all these letters to his family, like, writing his heart out and really pouring into it. And then, yeah, he ended up dying. And he died from hypothermia. But Dusty was saying that actually in the shop was proven later that someone had actually unplugged the freezer because it was they didn't want it to like waste the energy or something. So they unplugged the freezer, so it wasn't actually freezing cold in this freezer this man left his body in. But because he had the belief that it's freezing in here, that yeah, his body actually reacted the same way it would even if it wasn't in that condition. So yeah, that's just one example. I'm trying to think of another one he told me. But yeah, that if we create a certain belief in our mind, then it doesn't matter what the actual reality of the situation is. The mind is so powerful that it will take that belief and act on it, regardless of whether it's reality or not reality. Um, and if we create like positive beliefs for ourselves, then we can actually do things that we normally or maybe we conditioned to not be able to do. Just because you've created this belief, no, I can do this because of this, which of course is a large part of what all these books about like effective people or how to conquer the mind are all about, creating positive beliefs for yourself. And on the same hand, if we have negative beliefs, um, whatever they might be, like, then it can create sort of a repetitive negative pattern for us. And a lot of time, these negative beliefs, at least I'm noticing for myself, because I'm, yeah, seeing all of these negative qualities that I have and all these negative behavioral patterns that I have related to beliefs that I've created, they can actually inhibit us from being able to understand that exactly what Srila Prabhupada's saying in this translation. Like, what is the point of hanging out in a place that's kunta? It's like full of anxiety. We want to go to Vaikuntha, a place that's free from anxiety, that we never have to return to this material world again. But we can get so easily covered over by this, all of our different beliefs and all of our different illusions that we create for ourselves and that we get involved in that inhibit us from actually being able to achieve that supreme abode. So I was talking with some devotees recently, like peers of mine in Krishna consciousness, and we were relating, excuse me, we were saying, this one devotee was saying how for our generation and for the generation below us, and for generations to come, that the type of like Maya that our generation has to deal with is like different from the type of Maya that previous generations of Krishna conscious devotees have had to deal with. Of course, Maya for everybody is individual. It's not like one Maya is the same for, I mean, it could be for the same for lots of people, but in general, we all have Mayas, different Mayas that are unique to us in our different situations we've been in. But this one devotee and I were relating how, yeah, for like the Generation Z or I don't know Y, or I'm not sure what generation I fit into. I think I'm on the cusp of one of them. Is yeah, like social media or like the internet is like a huge Maya for a lot of our generation. It's like something that really pulls us away from Krishna. Of course, it's like one of those powerful weapons that can be used for the benefit of our Krishna consciousness, but of course, it can also be used incorrectly. I remember His Holiness Devrimita Swami saying in one lecture, he was just talking about the three most, like, most, what's the word he's using? I can't remember. The three most popular websites basically for people to use. And I can't remember the exact order, but it was YouTube, Facebook, and Pornhub as the top three websites that get the most usage for for the internet. And then he was describing that like people have smartphones, like we all have smartphones, and they can be used for amazing purposes. Like you can do so much for them with your Christian consciousness, but they can also be, if you're using them incorrectly, then they can be. He was using the terminology, a high road to hell. Like you're getting on a road and it's just like boom, going down the wrong track. Um, so yeah, me and this devotee were relating, like, oh yeah, social media is like a huge it's a huge maya for a lot of devotees. It just wastes so much time. And I remember this devotee was recently visiting. Maybe his name was Kirtananda. No, not Kirtananda. I can't remember. He was visiting with his wife. Dasi Prime knows him. They were friends. Do you remember that devotee that was here? His wife? No, he's like a Sankirtan devotee from somewhere in America. Um, and he was saying how he has a smartphone, but he only has like 3 apps on it. He has WhatsApp, and then he has a few like lecture apps that he listens to. And then he's like, I don't have the internet, I don't have YouTube, I don't have any of these social medias. And he was describing, he's like, yeah, it's amazing how much time you save when you don't have these apps on an easily available section. And yeah, I was thinking, well, that's really amazing. And that's like a really smart way of going about it. And I remember my spiritual master said in one class about the smartphone itis. He was saying, if you can't control yourself on a smartphone, then get a dumb phone. They still exist these days. And you can do everything you can do on a smartphone, but you just have a dumb phone instead. Um, anyways, I was thinking about this as definitely a problem amongst like this, the newer generations of devotees. Whereas like in his time, and I remember him, my Devamita Swami Maharaj, saying that when he was just joining ISKCON and he was a new bhakta, that the real Maya for devotees was like um, the deprogrammers. That it was like that was the big fear that you're gonna be on Sankirtan and someone's gonna drive by in a car and pick you up, put you in the back of their car, take you to some abandoned house, tie you up, and like show you videos to try and deprogram you from being a devotee. And he was saying this was like the big threat back in the day. That was what devotees were scared of. But now most devotees, that is not something that I think is so prominent today, at least in this current stage of the Hare Krishna movement. But a lot of devotees have this huge issue with social media, and they can just go on and get totally swept away and even fall away from their practices, being bewildered by so much that the internet has to offer. So yeah, anyways, I was thinking about that just now in this verse, this translation, where Srila Prabhupada is saying, if there is such a place, having gone from which no one returns to this miserable material condition of life, what is the use of jumping like monkeys in a temporal world and not seeing or understanding that place? So yeah, this form of degradation that we have such easy access to actually makes the mind jump around like a monkey, because it increases the flickering sensations of happiness and distress, and so quickly that it's flashing before your eyes in such a way that it actually becomes quite bewildering. Of course, it can also be used to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world, so it has its pluses and its minuses. But anyways, I just wanted to reflect on that a little bit as something that I personally need to work on. And personally struggle with. And there's this nice verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 2, text number 10. Translation it's one of these key verses from Bhagavatam. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should only desire a healthy life or self-preservation. Since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth, nothing else should be the goal of one's work. And then Srila Prabhupada very nicely in the purport explains, what, like, we shouldn't get distracted by all of these things. Actually, the core of our heart should be to be always driving towards Krishna. I remember when I would do book distribution a lot, I'd often say it's just like the same thing over and over again, just so I could just have a mantra, just repeated the mantra to people. And I'd often say, like, these books, they're all about like self-love books. Like, we often can give a lot of energy to other people, And we share so much energy with other people, and we always like helping other people because people like to think that they help others even if they don't. Like, yeah, we're always helping other people. But we often forget to help ourselves, right? So these books, they're like self-help books. They teach us how to actually help ourselves in the greatest way. And it's true. These books are teaching us exactly what Srila Prabhupada's saying here. Like, what is the point of wasting so much energy in all sorts of things when actually the real purpose of our life is this, is to focus all of our energies towards Krishna consciousness. And even in this purport, I was reading it last night as I was falling asleep, and I was like, ooh, controversial for the current situation. But Srila Prabhupada says here, in politics, social services, altruism, philanthropy, and ultimately in religion or even in salvation, the very tint of sense gratification is ever increasingly prominent. In the political field, the leaders of men fight with one another to fulfill their personal sense gratification. The voters adore the so-called leaders only when they promise sense gratification. As soon as the voters are dissatisfied with their own sense gratification, they dethrone their leaders. The leaders must always disappoint the voters by not satisfying their senses. So I thought this was very interesting because, of course, we live in Pennsylvania, so it's I think, just from what I've heard, a state where, yeah, a swing state. It can swing the whole, whatever president gets elected, can swing one way or the other. So, of course, every single ad that pops up on my phone is like, have you voted yet? Have you registered to vote? Are you voting? This is your chance to vote. And some of them are like clips from people. I'm not sure if they're real or if they're actors. And they say, like, I'm a hardworking citizen. I pay my taxes. I struggle to live. I uh, like to do these sorts of things. And I voted for this person. But now this year I'm going to vote for this person. Or, you know, this situation happened to me, and I'm, I wanted to do this about it, but I couldn't because this person is gonna block me from doing it. So instead, I want to vote for this person. So you can see it's actually just all related to like sense gratification in a sense. Um, like, what situation is gonna please my senses the most in a way that, okay, this person, will they please my senses? No. Okay, will this person please my senses? Well, they'll be able to satisfy at least some of my desires, so I'll go for this. But actually, just like Prabhupada's thing, and this is like couldn't be more accurate, that the voters will adore so-called leaders only when they promise its gratification. And as soon as the leaders are not able to fully satisfy the person's senses, then they just turn their back on them and they'll go for someone else. So for anybody, it would be a very tricky position to be in as a political leader. And even the political leaders themselves are also trying to satisfy their senses because it's a, what is it, dog eat dog world. Like, you have, in order to become successful in anything, you have to take as much as you can for yourself and then take for other people as well. So uh, it's a very tricky place to live in. And then also, on top of that, we're also trying to practice a lifestyle where we don't give in to our sense gratification and we try, in fact, to only enjoy through Krishna's satisfaction and his sense gratification, thinking what would be most pleasing for Krishna's service, what will help me the best in my devotional service so that I can please Krishna more. Even if it's like very dissatisfying to our own senses at the time. Of course, our senses are always changing, and what we find pleasant is always changing as well. I definitely know that for myself, that even within the course of a day, I can change my mind like 5 times about something in terms of what I thought I liked about it. Like, yeah, I like this, and then no, I don't like this. No, I don't like this at all. I hate this. Actually, that might not be a bad idea. So it's always changing. Um, So yeah, we're always trying to think, what can I do for Krishna's service? How can I please Krishna's senses? And this is very tricky. And then when we get involved in this material world to such an extent, that we start to identify, yes, I'm from this place. I become overly attached to my land of birth. This is where I was from. This is the state I grew up in. I'm proud of this state because we've done so much. But actually, all of this is just very temporary. And our real identity should be I'm a spirit soul, and I've forgotten that I'm in that position. And actually, I'm here in this material world. And because I'm here, I've been identifying with so much. And I've taken on so much conditioning. And now I have so many beliefs about myself. This is what I'm like. This is what I like to do. Um, these are the things that I find. These are the things I hate. These are the things I love. These are the people I don't like. These are the people I do like. And because of this, we build up so many walls. And we actually just make it very hard for ourselves in order to try and achieve that ultimate goal of life. Speaking from personal experience. So we can strive and aim to build these positive beliefs about ourselves. And one of the best ways of doing that is to get positive influences. If we're living in a completely negative environment, then it'll be very hard for us to think, oh, I'm a great person, I do great things, or wow, I have so much ability to do so many services for Krishna. If we're living in a negative environment, we'll just start to think, yeah, I'm just a waste of space. There's no point for anything I do. I'm not good at anything. Might as well just indulge in all the things that I know are good for me because there's nothing else here. Um, but if we try and get positive influences, then we'll start to think, oh, actually, I do have a chance. And yeah, there's so much I can do. And the best positive influence we can get is, of course, through the association of devotees. Through the association of great devotees, yeah, we can really we can get that quality association. There's a really nice verse about devotee association I wanted to quickly read. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. So if we hear, we associate, we take the opportunity to serve great sages, great devotees, even just your seemingly average devotee, Krishna takes note of our sincere efforts. And like we were reading last week in 10:10 of Bhagavad Gita, that even if a devotee is not very intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, Krishna gives him a chance by which he can ultimately attain him. So even if we might think, oh, I'm so unqualified, but at least we're attached to the process of devotional service and to the devotees. And we are hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam as much as we can, or if not as much, just anything, even a little bit. Then we actually our heart starts to change and the way we think starts to change. And we'll actually be able to build positive thoughts in our heart. And these positive thoughts will actually help us significantly achieve our desired result of going back to Krishna. So I think I'll finish up there. If anybody has any comments or questions they'd like to share, most welcome. Kalasrup's got a question.
So you're talking at different points about power, positive self.
Yeah.
I guess my next question, comment, question, whatever is how do we like make sure that our positive self beliefs are not, yes, for lack of a better word, delusional. I often have people, like for example, I know one I don't know, but I know somebody who thinks they're a very, very good cook, and they are very, very not. So, like, yeah, being like, oh, I'm a good cook is a possible belief, but it's not true, right? And that's kind of like a very clear example, but like in more subtle situations, I'm not very sure. But we want these possible beliefs. How do we make sure we're not fooling ourselves?
Right. Kailash was asking, how do we make sure we have, like, if we have positive beliefs about ourselves, that's nice, but sometimes the positive beliefs might not be accurate. They might actually be like a little delusional. He's giving the example of someone who thinks, I'm a great cook, I'm a great cook, but they're actually not a great cook at all. So, how can these thinking positively not be helpful, but not actually be a degradation to us or anyone around us? I think, I mean, for each individual person, it will be different. But um, if we're practicing Krishna consciousness, we should also try and be humble at the same point in time. Like if you're not a good cook and you kind of know that, but you're really trying, and you say to yourself like, oh yeah, okay, like I'm a good cooker. I can cook really nice preparations. It might get the motivation to at least try to. Whereas before it's like, I hate cooking. I'm never gonna cook. Um, I'm happy never cooking. I'll just eat kitchen the rest of my life. Like people actually, I know quite a few devotees who think like this. And it's just because they're not comfortable cooking. I mean, that's like a different example. And I mean in a broad sense. But yeah, I think it's also like the ability for feedback. So like for example, if I think like I'm great at construction work, I can build whatever I want. That might give me the internal motivation and like confidence that like, yeah, let me try. But then also open for feedback. Like Dana could come up to me and be like, yeah, this is like, let me just show you how to help you in a way where this can actually work. And you're not gonna like cut your fingers off. So in that way, like the, at least for practicing devotees, we should also be mindful of our own ego, like how much we can tell ourselves where we're feeling like, yeah, this is motivational for me, and I feel encouraged to try, or I feel encouraged to keep trying, but not to the point when it's we become proud, like, yeah, I'm awesome, like I've got this down, because then Krishna, of course, will purify us in that regard. Do you have anything to add? Is it okay? Okay. Targa Prabhu has raised hand.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. My understanding, my experience is that we have to be careful about um, taking guidance from sources other than um, the Guru Parampara, the Shastra. Sometimes there are individuals or books that seem to provide information and guidance that has useful, practical information that is helpful to our practice of Krishna consciousness. But we have to be careful about taking that kind of guidance because it can lead us off the path of bhakti in a wide variety of ways. Um, as far as a personal ability, um, our understanding is that actually we have no ability. Um, I'm not a good cook. I'm not good at anything. But whatever ability I seem to manifest, that is given by Krishna. Krishna is he explains that he says, I am the ability in man. Whatever ability we have, that's coming from Krishna. Otherwise, independently of Krishna, we have no ability. So it's easy to be humble when we understand that by myself, I have no capacity to do anything. But when I surrender to Krishna, when I take Krishna's shelter and cooperate with Krishna through the Guru Parampara, then I become empowered, and then I can do anything. Whatever Krishna wants me to do, I will have the capacity to do that. So there, on the one hand, we have no ability, but on the other hand, there is limitless capacity. Great devotees are sometimes empowered to do extraordinary things, empowered to the extent of having ability on par with Krishna himself in some cases. Lord Brahma is empowered to engineer the creation of the entire universe. So with Krishna's empowerment, we can do extraordinary things. Independently of Krishna, we have no capacity to do anything. Sometimes, based upon our karma, whatever stock of credits, good and bad, we have accrued through our activities, we may temporarily be able to manifest some particular ability. But even then, it's actually coming from Krishna. Without his sanction, we have no ability to do anything at all. We can't even breathe without Krishna's sanction. So when we're mindful of that fact, it's hard to become puffed up about whatever ability we think we have. We understand the facts that I'm a tiny, insignificant Jivatma, 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. Whatever ability I have, that is only coming from Krishna. Anyway, so there's that. I wanted to mention one other thing that unrelated point, but today is the appearance day of Sri Virabhadra, and these events on the Vaishnava calendar are important. They are very beneficial to us if we give proper attention to them. Our Vaishnava calendar largely was established by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he established a whole system. He created a system of names for the months. So this month, for example, we understand to be the month of Damodar. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta gave he renamed the months according to different names of various Vishnu forms in order to help Vaishnavas to always remember Krishna. And he took pains to establish dates for the appearances and disappearances of many, many significant Vaishnavas, and the pastimes of Krishna's various manifestations and so on. So Virabhadra, Sri Virabhadra is I'll read a little bit from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita quickly, from the Adi Leela. The 11th chapter, text 8 begins, after Nityananda Prabhu. This is descriptions of the branches of the Chaitanya tree. So the first great branch of the tree is Lord Nityananda. After Nityananda Prabhu, the greatest branch is Virabhadra Gosai, who also has innumerable branches and sub-branches. It is not possible to describe them all. In the purport, I'll read a portion of the purport here. Srila Prabhupada says, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasya, Virabhadra Gosai was the direct son of Srila Nityananda Prabhu and a disciple of Janava Devi. His real mother was Vasudha. In the Gora Garudesh Deepika, 67, he is mentioned as an incarnation of Kshirodakshai Vishnu. Therefore, Virabhadra Gosai is non-different from Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And through the rest of the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives the lineage that has descended from Virabhadra Gosai. In the following text states, although Virabhadra Gosai was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he presented himself as a great devotee, and although the Supreme Godhead is transcendental to all Vedic injunctions, he strictly followed the Vedic rituals. Then in the next verse, this is text 10 now, and this is important. It says, he is the main pillar in the hall of devotional service erected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He knew within himself that he acted as the Supreme Lord Vishnu, but externally he was prideless. And then again, important for us to be aware, in the 11th text, it says, it is by the glorious mercy of Sri Virabhadra Gosai that people all over the world now have the chance to chant the names of Chaitanya and Nityananda. So this is very significant that without Sri Virabhadra Gosai, the son of Lord Nityananda, we would not have the opportunity to chant the names of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and so we also would not have access to Sri Radha Krishna. And there's more about Sri Virabhadra in this chapter, but we're out of time. So, Hare Krishna.